Hello all. Hope you're all doing well. So let's start with our presentation today. So let me introduce myself. My name is Chirag Prabhakar. Today I'm presenting a comparative study of the role of the state in employment relations between two countries, that is Australia and Denmark. So, this presentation is a part of the unit and it's known as International Employment Relations at the Melbourne campus. So, let's explore how two fundamentally different national systems manage employer employee relations, the institutions, and their future challenges. So, let's go to the executive summary. So, this presentation explores how government actions shape employment relations in Australia and Denmark. So, Australia adopts a legalistic model, highly regulated and enforced through statutory frameworks like the Fair Work Act, as the authors argue. So, in contrast, Denmark relies on social dialogue and voluntary cooperation through what Dew and Madsen call organized decentralization. I have analyzed legislation, union dynamics, institutional frameworks, stakeholder impact, future challenges, and policy recommendation to understand both systems critically. So let's go to the next slide. So right now we are talking about the evaluation of employment relations in Australia. So Australia's employment relations were historically centralized, relying on compulsory arbitration via the Industrial Relations Commission. Reforms like work choice encouraged enterprise bargaining, but the Fair Act 2009 reinstated protective measures for employees. Key institutions include the Fair Work Commission, Fair Work Ombudsman, and National Employment Standards. So, however, challenges persist. Union density has dropped to around 14%, and there is increasing precarity due to casual and gig work, as highlighted by Rodman and Elam in the year 2022. So, let's go to the next slide. So, evaluation of employment relations in Denmark. So, Denmark presents a unique contrast. Its employment relations are governed through organized decentralization with minimal legal mandates. So, there is no such statutory minimum wage. Instead, wages and conditions are negotiated by social partners. Then institutions like the labor court and mediation institutions support conflict resolution, while the flexicurity system balances employer flexibility with worker protections through training and income support. Then Denmark's high collective agreement coverage and low conflict rates make this model particularly resilient. So let's move on to the next slide. So Australia is law driven. Denmark relies on trust and negotiated agreements. In Australia, bargaining is enterprise based and centrally regulated, while Denmark uses sector level bargaining and social partner co development, where Australia ensures minimum standards through tribunals and Denmark maintains outcomes via collective coordination. So, this comparison underscores how different governance philosophies produce different labor outcomes. Okay, so let's discuss union dynamics of Australia. So, in Australia, union membership has declined significantly from over 40% in the 1990s to just 14% today. So the ACTO campaigns for stronger worker protections, including the right to multi-employer bargaining. So yet challenges persist. The gig economy, casualization, and workforce fragmentation are eroding union influence. So let's discuss union dynamics in Denmark right now. So Denmark enjoys a higher union density around 67% with strong union confederation like FH and sorry if my accent is wrong, that is Akademikerne. So it was mentioned by Dew and Matson in the year 2008, which emphasizes the state's reliance on social partners rather than legal enforcement. So, still, the system faces pressure from declining youth participation and the rise of alternative yellow unions. So, let's move on to the next slide, that is institutional framework. So, Australia's institutional landscape includes FWC, FWO, and NES. Those are all essential for ensuring compliance. Whereas Denmark, on the other hand, operates to DA, FH, Labour Court, and Mediation Institution in a self regulated manner. So, this contrast shows Australia as rule based and Denmark as trust based. So, let's move on to the next slide, that is impact analysis. So for Australia, employers benefit from flexibility in enterprise negotiations but face regulatory complexity. So workers face stagnating wages and higher job insecurity, especially for women and casual employees. In Denmark, employers enjoy autonomy in hiring and wage setting, while employees gain strong protection, although marginal part timers and immigrants face increasing insecurity. So let's move on to the next slide, that is the upcoming trends. So in Australia, we are seeing movement towards sector level bargaining and regulations for platform based gig work. There is also growing uncertainty due to AI and automation. Then Denmark, meanwhile, is navigating tensions between flexicurity model and EU mandates. So there is also a call for modernizing youth participation and adapting to digital transitions. So let's move on to the next slides. So here we'll be just jotting down some challenges. So Australia faces several hurdles: declining union relevance, insecure work, and gender-based pay gaps. So in Denmark, the main concern are youth disengagement, declining union density in some sectors, and EU legal encroachments. So these issues could erode the trust and the stability that define Denmark's employment relation system. So, yeah, let's move on to the recommendation slide. So, to strengthen Australia's employment relation, the government should expand multi employer bargaining rights and update the NES to reflect hybrid and gig work realities. So, for Denmark, efforts should focus on boosting youth engagement, then preserving social partner legitimacy, and ensuring EU compliance without undermining national autonomy. Okay, let's move on to the next slide, that is stakeholder evaluation. So in Australia, unions remain active despite warning influence, and employer groups like AI Group and BCA wield lobbying power. So the government has often shifted its regulatory stance depending on political priorities. And in Denmark, employment relation is driven by cooperative engagement between unions and employer groups, supported but not dominated by the state. Let's move on to the next slide, that is cooperation and collaboration. So, tripartism in Australia is limited. During COVID 19, we saw temporary collaboration through JobKeeper schemes, but overall collaboration remains. So, Denmark exemplifies strong tripartite governance. Its unions, then employer groups, and government jointly manage ALMPS, pension, and training schemes. So, yes, here we come to the last side, that is the conclusion side. So, to conclude, Australia's employment relation is highly legalistic and focused on minimum protections and institutional compliance, whereas Denmark's model, in contrast, is built on trust, then social dialogue, and mutual regulations. So both systems face modern challenges, that is AI, globalization, demographic shifts, but their solutions completely differ. So Australia needs more flexibility and cooperation, whereas Denmark needs to protect its decentralized tradition while adapting to new labor realities. So together, these systems offer valuable lessons for managing employment relations in post-pandemic and digital world. So thank you guys. Let me scroll on to the references list right now. So these are the references which I have used. So all right, guys. I hope you had fun. Thank you.